Today, I want to talk about the upcoming June Nintendo Direct presentation and have a broad conversation on whether or not this is actually the last Nintendo Switch focused Direct, period. And you really have to stop and think about that statement because we are inching towards that point where we know we're within, for sure, from Nintendo's own mouth, 9 months or less away from learning about Switch 2. And if all the rumors and reports are to be believed online, we should be learning about it this year in the fall time, and we will likely see a launch happen in March of 2025, which begs the question, will Nintendo be promoting Nintendo Switch 2 games almost exclusively after we learn about that next-gen console? And while I do believe Nintendo will have some roadmap of support, even from a first-party perspective for the Switch after the Switch 2 launches, I definitely think it will be a shorter roadmap than what other companies do, because while we had claims from Sony that they believe in generations and the PS4 to PS5 was going to be a stark cutoff because of the power of the PS5, that's the only way that certain games are possible, that didn't end up happening. Sony still largely released most of their first party content all the way up until this last year, and we're still seeing some games get by that. And obviously the third party support is a different conversation to be had, but I do think that Nintendo will have one of the really quick turnarounds compared to other companies where we get a handful of games on the Switch, but everything goes to Switch 2 in terms of their marketing and their efforts, because they're going to want you to not only get that new console, but buy all of the software that they continue to release for it. And that's really how they're going to try to get people to upgrade right away. Now, there was a thought process back at the September Nintendo Direct going around online, and myself included, that felt like it was kind of an interesting Nintendo Direct from Nintendo. There was something spotted online by friend of the channel, Andres Restart, who noticed that, at least that this is where I heard about it, he noticed that there was a dash Nintendo Switch happening at the last few Nintendo Directs before they were airing, meaning when you're scrolling through the video, it was Nintendo Direct with the date and then dash Nintendo Switch, kind of signifying or insinuating that pretty soon we might be seeing Nintendo Directs that are revealed from Nintendo's main channel that are titled Nintendo Switch 2 or whatever the successor Nintendo Switch will ultimately be called. Then you look at the end of that September Nintendo Direct presentation, and there was an interesting mashup trailer put together from Nintendo on their first party content, which is common to see whenever we're talking about the third party sizzle reel games, or kind of the stuff that didn't get its own individual look with an individual trailer, and you see some really cool games, just like a quick 10 to 15 second snippet of it before it goes to the next thing. And we've seen Nintendo do that in Directs time and time again, and that would be nothing notable. But that first party look, it kind of felt like maybe this is Nintendo showing us their final glimpse of major software that they have planned for the Nintendo Switch in one mashup trailer before they were ready to sunset the announcements for that console. Well, then you stop and look at the reports and rumors that suggested we were supposed to learn about Switch 2 in March of 2024. That obviously did not happen, but the internal claims from sources like Bloomberg, VGC, Eurogamer, amongst many others, was that there was an internal shift to move the Nintendo Switch 2's launch to the beginning part of 2025 instead of an originally planned launch of holiday 2024, which, if you question how credible that thought process is, you can actually just look at Nintendo's history and realize that that's exactly what they did for the Switch 1. Due to the Giga leak, we know that originally Switch 1 was supposed to be launched towards the holiday season of 2016, and it was instead moved up to March of 2017, and obviously it was still a smash hit success. Nintendo kind of proving the idea that they don't have to launch in the holiday window to have a successful console, and it seems like there may indeed have been some plans to go with that same repeat strategy, and the same repeat delay happened to March. We may not ever find out if that was indeed the case, but it would lead some credence to that idea of the September Nintendo Direct more or less being their final one for the Nintendo Switch, but plans changed, and they obviously have to communicate to fans over the summertime around what else we even have to look forward to in 2024, and what's the reason you should be potentially buying a Switch for the first time, or for people who just own one, how are you going to be supporting your fan base, Nintendo? And you then look at the fact that February only had a partner showcase for us with no first party content focused on or featured from Nintendo at all, and every other game other than Princess Peach Showtime in 2024 has been a port or remaster, and we are now approaching a point where we're going to finish Nintendo's officially announced games release roadmap with Luigi's Mansion 2 HD hitting in June. And while we know about Metroid Prime 4, that feels like an accident to me from Nintendo. I don't think they would have told us about that game if they knew the development hurdles that they were going to run into with that game. They would have never showed us that splash screen if they thought it was this far off, clearly. So that one, you could argue if it's really in their release roadmap or not. I would say no, because we haven't seen the game yet. But all of that to say, Nintendo had to acknowledge some kind of presentation. It's the summertime. We expect a big presentation. And I think that this is them shifting their plans when originally we were supposed to know about Switch 2 and we could have started finding out about games for the Switch 2 in some kind of reveal trailer in March. And now Nintendo President Shintaro Furukawa had to make it very clear that we will be holding a Nintendo Direct in the month of June, but we will not be talking about our Nintendo Switch 2 at this presentation, which is very important to set yourself correct expectations. We're not going to learn about the successor console here. We're not going to see it mentioned here. At the very most, we might see a third-party game or something revealed that will launch in 2025, and we don't know if it's going to be for that successor console or not. But I am very much expecting this to be the swan song for the Nintendo Switch. I think we're going to see a lot of the rumored ports and remasters that are still out there being talked about. Your Wind Waker, Twilight Princess have a shot. Maybe it's just one or the other. Maybe it's both. The Metroid Prime 2 and 3 HD in a combo pack, I think, is most likely as the Shadow Drop game at that event, which Nintendo has been doing a Shadow Drop game historically at their most recent Nintendo Directs, just about every one of them. And then Metroid Prime 4 could be the big show closer and the holiday 2024 big seller, or they could at least just tease the game, and that might be the one that's saved for the Switch 2's launch window and we just get a 2025 year at the end of the trailer. Something like that is entirely possible as well. I'm expecting a new Mario Party game of some sort due to the leaks. Maybe Kid Icarus Uprising makes an appearance there, but there's a lot of games to potentially be excited about for the second half of 2024. But I actually think the Direct will be very telling on if we should expect a September Direct to take place at all after that June Direct, because if they outline a lot of their games leading up all the way through the holiday season of 2024, I don't think we should expect the same Direct schedule in any way, shape, or form that we normally see them hold in years prior or in the heyday of the Nintendo Switch. As you can already see, we're on a different schedule this year with only having a partner showcase. The first Nintendo Direct of the year that's a mainline Direct is happening in June, and there's no reason to expect that they're ready to update us with a lot of software again in September, unless if they have already revealed Switch 2, at which point I do think there's a high likelihood we see a Nintendo Direct in September, and a lot of that is focused on the Switch 2 launch lineup games, which I'm very hopeful is the case. But there's also the reality that Nintendo might hold back on more of that and just essentially reveal the console to us and have that be the star of the show in that September-October timeframe, and then in January next year we get that big blowout hands-on with the hardware type of event, and Nintendo answers all our questions about what this console is all about and what it's capable of, and we see some teases but not necessarily full-blown in-depth trailers for games that will be lined up around the launch window. So not only is the idea that this might be the last Nintendo Direct that is focused exclusively on Nintendo Switch games, but it's very likely that this is the last mainline Direct of 2024 period, or it is at least in the conversation and the realm of possibility, and I am more setting my expectations in that camp unless some kind of big news comes out. Like I said, if we get a Switch 2 reveal, maybe they follow it up with a Direct like a week after. That's definitely a possibility, but if that doesn't happen in September, maybe they hold an October Direct, or we are legitimately waiting until like January, February of next year to really learn about a lot of the games that will be launching with Nintendo Switch 2. But with that idea that this might be the last Nintendo Switch focused Nintendo Direct, I think that also really amps up the possibilities of games we are going to see here. Now, if you are not in any way, shape, or form a fan of ports or remasters, you might end up walking away from this Direct somewhat let down, but I think there's a lot of us fans that are excited to have more of our classic favorite Nintendo games potentially playable on Switch hardware towards the end of its life cycle, and I think this is going to be a more or less blowout event for that. Will we see all of the new major 3D Mario and Zelda installments and things like that at this event? Probably not, but I do think Nintendo is absolutely going to come out with enough beefy announcements for the rest of 2024 to keep us gamers satisfied in the Switch's presumably final year, and then it just causes me to reflect and realize how many great Nintendo Directs we've had during this era, during this console generation, and that's where I want to pose the question to you guys. What's your favorite memories from Nintendo Direct moments over the years? Is it some of the surprise Smash character reveals? Was it all of the marketing hype and trailer lead up to Tears of the Kingdom? Was it Metroid Prime 1 finally being announced after talking about it in the rumor mill for a couple years like it was for me? That was a highlight moment of all the Directs for the Switch generation. But share all your thoughts and nostalgia and memories in the comments comments down below around your favorite Nintendo Direct moments for the Switch, and definitely let me know if you're like-minded and you do think this is a high likelihood that this is the last Nintendo Switch focused Nintendo Direct we have, or do you think that there's a chance that September Direct rolls forward normal schedule and we actually learn about more software for the Switch and maybe even the Switch 2, depending on if you think that the console is revealed at that point in time. And bonus, what would be the perfect show closer game for you personally at this upcoming June presentation? So thanks so much for watching the video today, everyone. Make sure you share all your thoughts and feelings in the comments down below before you leave, regardless if we agree or disagree. Also make sure you like, subscribe, turn your notification bell, and I will see you guys in the next video.